the tape, let's grind. Shut up, the tape, let's grind. Let's the tape. We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play, shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
The tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Right. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Yeah. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. Yeah. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Right. Kirby Smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play, shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't gonna play, them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network, brought to you by our friends over at Better on a fabulous Thursday evening. Say it with me, ladies and gentlemen. I already see it loading up in the chat. Last show, best show. Boy, do we have a loaded one on the way for you guys today. It's Thursday, which means unless it doesn't happen, it's coming right to you hot and heavy in your face. We're taking a peek tonight, of course. Another Better play for you guys tonight. Feel a little bit frisky, might double down on tonight's show with Better plays. We're going to give you a top 5 tonight, and I'm excited for it. It was spurned by a uniform, an alternate uniform coming out today from Illinois, and boy, is that ick. We're going to talk about that tonight for you guys, why a win is so important for the University of Tennessee, and we're going to be breaking out our final points tonight on all the big games this weekend. And boys, for the first time in I think well over a year, we're going to have a guest join us tonight on the show.
Ooh. It's been a minute since we've had
It's
one of
been
those.
a fat minute since we've had a guest. Who was our last guest? Gary?
No, I think Lanning was.
Lanning?
Lanning.
Yeah.
Well,
Dan Lanning post.
no. Didn't SVP come through after the season?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cedric came through and sat down. So, I mean, when we have a guest come on, normally they're kind of a heavy hitter. I ain't going to lie to you. So I don't want to oversell and underdeliver. I don't think we're going to do that tonight. Excited to bring you our first guest in quite a while. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button and liking this video. Okay, we've got plenty of views, plenty of subscribers. And I have challenged you guys to make sure we are growing that having that snowball roll down that hill, right? Trying to get that subscriber count up as much as possible. But here's what I'm asking you to do today. I am asking you, especially if you're rewatching the network, make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. I know we're only like 2 minutes in, so I'm getting you fresh. I know I've got your attention. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on this video for us. That's how we get in front of more people. I know you guys that watch this program, you're really proud of it. You love it. By God, we saw this week, if anyone ever comes at this network, you guys go out with razor blazing lemon juice. So we understand y'all love this place. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button to connote that love for this place. Now, this was very interesting to see on the show notes today. Obviously, it's a big win. Obviously, it's a must-win for playoff contention standpoints for both football programs in Alabama and Tennessee this weekend at Neyland Stadium at 3:30 on ESPN. But you're telling me on the show notes this is a must-win football game for Tennessee for different reasons. Go ahead. The table is yours, or the floor is yours, I should say. Jay Will, welcome in.
Do you need an ISO, J. Will?
You can do whatever you want, but I'm going to go ahead and start delivering this take for you guys.
Oh, that boy cooking.
This does start with playoff implications for Tennessee. It has everything to do with that because if you lose this game, then you still got Georgia left on the schedule, and that one still feels like it's really up in the air for you, especially with how things have gone for you as of late. A road game in Athens late in the year, that might put you at 3 losses, and 3 losses, that probably puts you out of the playoff. So a win on Saturday against Alabama provides you a lot of momentum. It gives you more leeway as well down the stretch of the season to make the playoffs with Nico as your quarterback, something that was very desirable heading into the season. It felt like this was your shot, this was your window. But then I go and take a look at Tennessee's roster this year and what it is this year and the potential losses that they're going to have this offseason. And Dylan Sampson is a junior. He's playing really good football. I would say he's probably going to go to the NFL. That is a 3-year guy, shelf life on running backs. Get it while you can. Go get the money in the league while you can. Wide receivers, you got quite a few. Brew McCoy, I believe this is his last year of eligibility. It's his last crack at it. Some other veterans also in that wide receiver room. Offensive line is littered with a bunch of vets in that room. Lance Hurd, the left tackle, he still is classified as an underclassman. I think he's a redshirt sophomore. But outside of that, it's a lot of vets, a lot of guys.
Even Hurd's backup, Dennis, or Dane, the backup left tackle, he's a redshirt senior as well.
And James Pierce, defensively, your edge rusher, that guy's going to the NFL. He's going to go, he get his back. That's a first-round pick. And there's some other names also on that defense. So while Nico's window is still this year and next year, you're losing a lot of key pieces on offense and defense to where it feels like if you are going to make a push for anything, if you are going to make a splash in the playoffs this year, this feels like a must-win because if you win this one, it almost feels like maybe it's a guarantee for you. As long as you don't have any more slip-ups, as long as you don't have another Arkansas performance in you, it feels like this might be there because of everything that you do lose on this roster or potentially could lose.
And could even afford a loss to Georgia at the end of the year. And that's the big circled game on this schedule, even after this Alabama football game. But you're right, man. If you really look at this too deep right now for Tennessee, there are 10 of 22 starters are technically seniors. Now, this stuff gets really hairy nowadays with all the super seniors, but I would imagine by the season of 2025, we're kind of getting out of the I was on a roster in 2020. You know, I think we're kind of past all the super seniors, or maybe we're finally getting past that. I'm sure there's going to still be some folks hanging around that got medicals and traditional red shirts. You know, if you just look at 6 plus 2020, probably not officially out of the I'm a super senior or able for a super senior until 2026. But if you just assume that all of these seniors are gone, plus Dylan Sampson, you're looking at like half of your starters right now at Tennessee. And I always looked at it as, you know, first year starter. The window for Nico is year 2. That's when he's going to be at his elite area. You would imagine, right? That second year of starting, we've really seen guys have tremendous amounts of growth. We knew he was going to be really talented and good this year, but most people expected growing pains. And I think what happened to this timeline for Tennessee is it got really convoluted because early on you play teams like Kent State and NC State, who have come to be the worst football programs or football teams of their divisions.
Terrible.
Like Kent State's 0-6, and I don't think NC State has a Division I win right now or Power 5 win right now.
That's
so
terrible.
They're both really bad, and it looked like you were unbeatable, and then you kind of handle Oklahoma, and they've found out to be kind of fraudulent as well. So I think early on success made it look like this timeline might have jumped forward and everything was going to be okay. But now it looks difficult on both ends, where it looks like the quarterback's window might be next year, but it looks like the roster's window might be this year, but the roster still has holes. Like, it's weird, man.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because you always hope that your roster realigns with your quarterback play. And, I think that several programs are kind of going through that this year. I think that Georgia can kind of be classified into this to an extent of Carson Beck's first year. You have Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers. Those guys get banged up last season, so you miss out on that. Year two, it's a new tight end. It's figuring out your wide receiver room. Your running backs, 2 of your top running backs leave as well. You lose a right tackle in Amarius Mims, and you lose a lot of defensive backs as well on your secondary, and that's showing up as well. But for Tennessee, it just feels more extreme because the playoff implications of that's something you haven't done. You haven't been this super relevant team up until Heupel got here, and you haven't broken through that threshold just yet. But the good news is for Tennessee is you have a really strong recruiting class coming in, and you have a David Sanders who could absolutely plug into that offensive line immediately. You have Mike Matthews who would be going into year 2 right now or next year for Nico, so a guy that could replace maybe some of those wide receivers. And you still have returning pieces on the defense.
Yeah, I mean the same. I mean, you obviously, I think everyone expects them to lose James Pierce, but Jordan Ross, you would assume in year 2, a 5-star edge rusher out of the state of Alabama, you would assume that guy has tremendous amounts of growth, as most guys do in year 2 of the system. And he seems to be playing, at least on special teams already. Unfortunately for him, the only reason I know that is because he got a special teams roughing the punter. And I was like, oh, there's Jordan Ross. But he's an extremely talented football player. And you're right. I mean, they've recruited inside the top 10 for several cycles now. I think maybe 11 and 9. So they're averaging about a top 10 class under Heupel so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's talent to build around this program moving forward. And we've seen that. We just talked about that. I think it's the experience that you're losing this year that's going to be so crucial. And we've seen other programs where experience, you might not lose as much talent. I mean, you're just overturning 4 and 5 stars like the Georgias and the Texases and the Alabamas of the world. But that loss of experience, you really can't measure. And you're seeing that with Georgia this year, I think, as well. So, yeah, it's going to be big for Tennessee, and that's why this year is so important. And also, a loss to Alabama at home looks a lot worse than a loss to Georgia on the road, in my opinion. Wherever Georgia's ranked at the time you play them, you have to imagine that's a top 10 team. So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, too, though, and maybe adding into the positives for Tennessee, and this was something we said in the preseason of, you're going to have an upper leg on a lot of SEC teams going into next year because you do return your quarterback. Nico is going to be coming back for another year. Georgia won't have Carson Beck next year. Brady Cook will not be at Missouri. Jackson Dart will not be at Ole Miss. Who knows about Jalen Milroe? That's trending to be a first-round pick potentially for them, so he's not going to be there. So you're going to have a returning starter, a luxury that a lot of these SEC programs will not have. The only caveat to that is next year you go to Alabama on the road because you get the same schedule, but you get Georgia at home. Who knows what Oklahoma looks like next year? So there's good and bad in this. But the overall layout of the roster and a bunch of unknowns of, hey, we're kind of banking on these 2025 commits, or at least some of them hitting next year and being immediate plugins for us, or having to go into the portal and find some immediate contributors. There's just up and downs.
And even better news, right? We know the world of unsanctioned NIL is probably coming to a close pretty soon. They've got all the assets in the world, all of them. More than any program probably right now doing it the best in terms of NIL and crowdsourcing that and running that super PAC higher than anybody else right now. So the window on that probably closing, and you're probably not going to be able to promise 3-year deals anymore. They're probably going to be one window shots. So in a year where they're probably going to have to be going all in on the portal, right, to fix some of these holes immediately, because we don't all assume Nico's going to be a 4-year guy. We assume the moment it gets it right, like the NFL is going to look at that and go, my God, the traits, let's draft this guy and get him out of college. So if the window is next year, right, if this year doesn't pan out, you've got plenty of assets to go into the portal and fix all these holes that appeared on your roster this season.
Yeah, so I just thought it was good to kind of put that emphasis on it for Tennessee of this isn't just maybe about the implications of this season for them. It could be, man, this might be a closing window for Nico and this team and maybe for what lays ahead for us as well.
Got to buy good groceries.
Got to
go out and buy good groceries. That's the important. Nothing that spoils too quickly either. All right. Shall we take a peek, gentlemen?
Let's take a peek.
I like to take a peek. What you taking a peek at this weekend, Curb?
I really want to watch this Kentucky and Florida game. I know it's not necessarily a great battle. These Kentucky and Florida.
Is this a nooner?
I believe so. It's either a noon or a 3:30 kick. But these Kentucky Florida games over the years have always been kind of interesting. They've always shaped up to have really, really weird finishes. Remember that game a couple years ago where like 3 times in a row Kentucky walked out 10 players on the defense and Florida just marched down the field, stuff like that. It's always been a very interesting rivalry, even though historically Florida's dominated it. Might change this year, though. So I'm going to take a peek at this game.
I have a similar I have a similar Florida-related take a peek. They should be taking a peek at Indiana at Nebraska. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but our phones are definitely listening to our YouTube channel and definitely listening to what I'm saying come out of my mouth, because I started talking about Signetti yesterday, and then boom, all of a sudden Signetti's face is all popping up on my timeline. By the way, he's a Google me, bro. He said it in his National Signing Day press conference this year. They asked him something, and he's like leaned up on the microphone like this, and he goes, I mean, I win. It's what I do. Just Google me. He said that one. So I start seeing all these clips show up on my timeline. I'm like, why are they on my timeline? The reason being, Florida fans are posting them. Florida fans are starting to smoke the SIG. All right, they're starting to smoke the SIG, and they're starting to love on this. And this weekend, big football game, Nebraska coming to Indiana. I think they ought to be paying attention to it.
Yeah, is just Google me, bro. I win. Does that scream SEC coach to you?
I mean, dude, you taking shots at me again right now? I think just Google me is a classic.
No, that wasn't take shots at you.
Classic.
That's like, could you see that a persona like that working out in the SEC?
I mean, yeah, maybe. Here's what I think they should do. Here's the deal. So Lane and the SIG, man, they're Marlboro Reds. All right, Lane and the SIG, they are the ones that are probably, the first two names to pop up as the opportunistic, hire potentially for this football program, because everybody just assumes that, the boy Billy is a dead fish, out there as a football coach. So here's what I'm proposing. All right. They have a quote off and a viral off. So you bring the SIG man down, you bring Lane Kiffin down to Gainesville, and you have a mock introductory press conference, and you stream it. And whoever does most viral numbers takes the job as the Florida head coach.
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, it would be a quote off for all time.
Yeah, that sounds like.
We got the SIG man saying I show up and whip ass and Google me, bro. And we got Lane Kiffin doing get ready with me's with his daughter on TikTok. So, I mean, which one you want?
I like it.
Idea of Signetti being hired at Florida.
A good measuring stick.
Crazy? Why? One at JMU immediately turned Indiana into an undefeated team through 7 weeks. Why?
That's fine. It's crazy in my opinion of go back 8 weeks ago before the season started. If anyone floated out that name, you're getting looked at very, very, very weirdly. Like, the guy from Indiana? No, it's Lane Kiffin's job to lose. So now that we're sitting here going into week 7 thinking, Signetti's the top guy, and I get it. He's won at Indiana. He's really built up a lot of programs.
He won at James Madison.
I get it. Like, it makes sense, but
Billy
also
Napier won at Louisiana Lafayette.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're right.
Just
I got to do some. Here's the main concern. 63 years old, but worked for Saban. Worked for Saban 3 years. Wide receivers coach and recruiting coordinator. Worked for Saban. Got to work for you, right?
Well, yeah, obviously. If it works for Saban, it'll work here too.
Worked for Saban. Tremendous quote guy. Won at Elon. Won at James Madison. Win it at Indiana. It's his time to shine. Bring him down to the SEC.
Stamped.
I mean, come
I don't
on.
know what, but here's the thing that's weird though. What is the perfect Florida head coach? Like, don't give me a name. Like, give me a scenario, a person where they are the perfect candidate to be a Florida head coach. Because we've seen the group of 5 guy that's had a lot of success twice or once. That didn't pan out. We saw the guy that had a lot of success at the lesser SEC school. That didn't pan out. We saw the really good defensive coordinator. That didn't pan out.
Kenny Dillingham.
And why?
Young, offensive-minded football coach that can recruit. Because you've got to maintain DJ Lagway's attention. So you can't bring in some hard-ass, hard-nosed defensive guy, I don't think. I think you have to bring in a guy like a Kenny Dillingham, or Jed Fish graduated there. Now, I know Jed Fish ain't going to be doing the Arizona for a couple years, Washington for a Singleton year, and then coming out to Florida. I think your window to hire him might have passed you. Maybe you can talk him into it. It is his alma mater.
It would be an upgrade.
But I would look at Kenny Dillingham pretty hard. But Kenny's an Arizona State alum. Like, he took that job, and he's been very vocal about how he wants to turn that into the Utah of the Big 12 again. Like, he wants to turn that into a constant Big 12 champion type of program. I know it's all lip service. I understand that. But he's doing a good job at his alma mater now.
Or, hear me out, what if they just keep Billy Napier?
Hey, This is not out of the realm of possibilities because of how much the athletic director seems to be tied to this one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to let this athletic director hire another football coach. If he fires this guy, he might be firing himself. That's been kind of the the temperature around the Florida fan base is what it seems. Just a weird spot to be in as an SEC football program.
Yeah, it is. I'm putting myself in the torture chamber tomorrow night just to take a peek, because I have to. It's been too long. I got to get another look at it just to kind of maybe even just remind myself, maybe just to kind of solidify my thoughts and then make sure it really is as bad as I remember it being this bad. And also maybe to take a peek at another player on the other side of the football. I'm tuning in to FSU versus Duke, or I'm at least taking a peek, maybe doing some dual screen, maybe not full game in this one, but I just maybe need to remind myself, Florida State, are you really this bad still? Because Duke's only a 3-point favorite. They're 5-1. Maybe you had some things switch up on you. I think I need to re-solidify my feelings on this, but also maybe take a peek at Malik Murphy again.
Absolutely hectic to look up week 8 of college football season and see a 1-5 FSU team, a road dog against a 5-1 Duke.
And it's gotten to the point where, and this is the reason why they're on my list, people just don't talk about them anymore. They're not in the headlines. Nobody's talking about Mike Norvell. Nobody's talking about what can Florida State do. I got to take a peek. I got to make sure everything's still going bad there, I guess.
So that's pretty sicko behavior. Right?
Yeah.
Sicko mode.
I'm doubling down. I'm gonna take 2 of these in a row because I've got some sicko behavior football games I'm taking a peek at. 2-4 Miami of Ohio. A 3.5-point favorite on the road at 4-2 Ohio? Why?
Interesting.
Why? I'm gonna tune in. I'm gonna take a peek, find out why.
Yeah, we gotta find out.
How is a 2-4 team on the road a favorite? It makes no sense to me. Vegas knows something. Smelly football line right there. I'm going to be taking a peek. Taking a peek and a sniff at that one. Double down. 2-4 New Mexico State at 1-5 Utah State. Sounds like a shitty football game.
Really bad football
You'd
game.
be wrong. You'd be wrong. I don't know about you boys, but I love me a shootout. Let's play a game here.
Good.
Let's play a game here. There is one football game in the Division I ranks this week that has an over-under in the 60s. This football game is outside, north of the 60s. Can you just try, in the 70s range, try to guess the over-under on this football game?
69.
72.
You'd both be wrong. 77.5 points. It's the highest over-under in college football this week by over 12 points.
Damn. That's a lot of points.
If you love offense and really, really bad defense, boy, do I have a game for you. New Mexico State at Utah State. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm taking peeks. I'm going to be taking a peek at this one.
It's going to suck when that game ends like 28-31.
Impossible.
Nothing's
Lay the points on that over. Strap it
the
in.
over of 77?
Strap it in. Betting unders is for cowards. 77.5. Strap it in. Buckle it up. Ride that wave, baby. Come on.
Not doing that.
No.
Never.
No. You're not loco for the Lobos?
No, I'm
Hell
not.
no.
Not to interrupt your
Cowards.
hype machine right now. Joseph Jonah has been downgraded to out, by the way, for this weekend. So some Georgia news there. Anyway,
Well, shit.
going back to take a peek. This may be another psychotic one to go along with this. Let's just go with the trend. It is October. It is a little spooky season. Maybe we should get a little spooky with these taking a peeks. Houston kind of been one of these sneaky good teams. 5-1 also, I believe.
Yeah.
But hadn't really played anybody, not really making any legitimate waves, just kind of.
It should have been our first note that Oklahoma's trash.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been.
Yeah, probably should have been.
Yeah.
But I'm going to see how legitimate they are because you got Kansas walking in. I hate to do my former team dirty like this, but I got to. We're going to find out how good you are because if you can beat up on the Jayhawks like everybody else has, all these other good teams, if you can beat up on them and do what you're supposed to, maybe, just maybe.
Talk to them.
We start paying a little attention to Houston and what they got going on out there.
Just lose to them by less than 6.
Maybe. Just maybe. Go ahead.
Iowa State's a team that's gotten a lot of hype this season because they have had a really good record. I believe they're undefeated. They're ranked inside the top 15 in the country. Actually, they might be 16th. But they play a UCF team this week that I just don't know. I'm getting the feeling that they stink. Everything I've seen is that they stink, but there's also a small part of me that says Gus Malzahn's got to have something dialed up for this team. An Iowa State team that I'm not sure I believe is the greatest, is a playoff team. So I'm going to be taking a peek at this game just to confirm 2 things. Is Iowa State legit, and is UCF really that bad?
I'm taking a peek at some Vanderbilt football this weekend.
Yes, you are.
Because they're 26 and a half, I believe, point favorite over Ball State.
Ball State, terrible football team.
Terrible football team.
Terrible.
But that's why this is exactly why I'm tuning into this one, because Vandy, you want to become one of these elite programs. Let's see you take care of some business. Let's see you put up a 50 burger against a team you should just absolutely manhandle. I can't remember a time in my life where I said Vanderbilt was going to absolutely just handle business with ease this weekend. It seemed like every game on the schedule was maybe they on the chopping block. It don't matter who it is. Vanderbilt might get got this week. Not this time. They might actually just cruise to a victory.
I like that. Ball State literally might be one of the worst teams in Division I football. I think they have a win over Missouri State and 1 point win over Missouri State, and then another 1 point win over Kent State. So Kent State, definitely the worst Division I football team right now in college football. But there are some bad ones out there. I might finally, and no disrespect, I might finally take a peek at the Servicemen.
Oh,
I might finally do it this week.
Support
East
the
Carolina at Army, Charlotte at Navy. Both of these football programs hosting a couple of scrappy 3-3 football teams, both of which are coached by programs that are, relative friends of the show. East Carolina, a lot of those guys listen. Charlotte, you know how we feel about the Posey man. So I might be taking a peek. Might be taking a peek at the Servicemen this week.
Shout out to the troops, man.
Shout out.
I've just been informed Houston is 2-4. I'd like to take back my take. Just that is
scrappy 2-4.
Yeah, come on. 2-4 at Houston's like 5-1 at Houston. I mean, come on, guys. Same thing.
Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. Better now offers college football props in 23 states. Enter more than or less than key stats in your favorite college football game to win over there on Better. They're matching first-time deposits up to $250 using promo code Brooks right now. We're going to take you through a play right here on the show. We tried to do this last night. Okay, we're going to double down and try to do it twice tonight. I am asking the man Jay Will to juggle so many different things tonight as a producer. If he gets through tonight unscathed, best producer in all of the internet, because not only is he doing what I'm asking him to do, he's out here running the show as well and talking and giving delicious takes. So here we go. We're going to get on Better right now and hammer these unders in these Tennessee passing game, or this Alabama-Tennessee passing attack. 230.5. I don't feel great about it on Jalen Milroe. We're going to take the under. All right, Nico, let's see what this is at. Ooh, 199.5. Ooh. Oh, that's hard. Ooh, that's a tough line. 199.5. We're going to take the over. I know I came into this saying we're taking unders. We're going to take the over on that one. All right. We're going to come in and bet this one. Perfect play. All right. $20 on that. We're going to get to 5-1 right now. We're going to push to 6-1 by the end of the show. Shout out to the folks over there at Better. We're going to place that entry. Rat meow. All right. And we're going to get that active. Appreciate those friends over at Better. Again, promo code Brooks will get you a 100% deposit match over there with up to $250 on your first-time deposit. Guys, it's important we actually get over there and start making those plays, okay? Get over there. Get in on the action with Better. Again, promo code Brooks. Shout out to those guys. Hey, man, these Illinois unis, these things are atrocious. Hey, Jay Will?
Horrendous.
I didn't get a
Absolutely
really good
horrendous.
look at him.
Well, first of all,
I
I ain't gonna lie. I'm not the best model, but they didn't do my man's a lot of service. He don't look like a Division I football player, to say the least.
No.
No.
Probably just threw an equipment guy on him.
Probably.
Would you like to see them?
I would like to see them.
Okay,
actually.
I'll flash it up on the screen for our chat. And
The other
everybody.
thing that freaked me out about this is the helmet tone of the puke brown is different than the jersey tone of the puke brown.
Yeah, not a lot of cohesiveness going on right now.
Let me take a look.
They tried to go with the old school, like this is
Oh,
an
it's
old
like
school
leather helmet type thing.
It has
but
got the
it's a
leather helmet
real
print.
helmet.
Yeah.
Crazy looking, isn't it? What's the worst part about this? The color contrast, and is that just the lighting potentially, or the model that they used? There's a lot going wrong in this alternate jersey reveal.
A whole lot going on.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't hate it though. Like at least the color palette's fine. It's not good.
I hate it.
It's definitely not good at all. But at least it's not like dark green and then neon green on top of it. That is repulsive.
Stab at Michigan State. They'll show up here in a second.
Good.
What if you had to put a top 5 worst uniforms ever?
If I had to, already prepared. I have an OLI on this one. That Illinois uniform makes the OLI. No doubt about it. That is ugly. The Michigan State neon that you mentioned, just a clashing of greens. They had the regular Michigan State green and then that bright Nike colorway neon green in that sucker with the big state letters across the top. It was just ugly. Number 5, I'm going Notre Dame's pinstripes that one time they played at Yankee Stadium. I did not like that.
No.
For a football team and a football program that, and granted, I think it's Under Armour's fault. I don't think Under Armour's necessarily in their bag on these, but we've seen Nike screwed up before. Under Armour definitely did with the Notre Dame pinstripe unis. I'm going Michigan's Bumblebee uniform. Do you remember this?
Yes.
They had the yellow pinstripe on the top of the shoulder pads on a white-based uni. It was gross.
They're all
They
yellows
wore
are pretty
yellow
gross,
pants
too.
with that too.
They're all yellows are gross too.
Yeah.
The maize on maize, I didn't like that.
Yeah, I didn't love that either. But that was a Jordan uni at that point, and I'm never gonna hate on the J-Man. So we're there. Number 3, the Gator uniform, the one that looked like
Not
gator
good.
skin, awful. I honestly thought it was a troll.
They did this
I thought
twice,
it was fake. They
They did it
actually wore
twice.
them. They wore them twice.
They had 2 variations of it. One was like a black with the skin tone, like skin scales thing, and then the other was like that gray color, like the actual gator skin.
Yuck.
The gator skin was disgusting.
Number 2 might get some blowback on this one. I'm gonna go number 2, Georgia's Nike color whatever against Boise State. I didn't love
Nike
that.
Pros.
And the reason being the split colorway on the face mask was really, really weird. I thought they absolutely ruined the opportunity to wear black helmets that one time against Florida. Didn't they wear black helmets that one
They
time?
did. That would be
With
the
red
2000
face masks?
Those
Yeah.
are top. I like those.
I didn't. I thought it would have looked better with a black helmet and white face mask. Or maybe just go all black. I don't know. I thought
had
they
red
missed
fa-
the opportunity.
I like
there.
those unis. That was the 2009 Florida game.
So number 2, the Boise State uniforms. And then number 1, just standard Penn State.
Oh,
Worst unis ever worn.
Does that mean that Georgia Southern gets thrown into this list? Because they're basically that.
No, Georgia Southern's got the numbers on the helmet. They're Bama, but blue and white.
So that's
so the
the
numbers
difference.
on the helmet's the one barrier that keeps you from having.
Yep,
shitty
and
uniforms.
you know what, Bama, and you guys got me on this on pre-show. Bama's got the numbers, and Bama's got something else working for him. Do you know what it is?
Oh, they win a lot.
That they got that working for him. But do you know what else it is?
What's that?
Boy, they're a carbon copy of the Remember the Titans unis. And everybody loves Remember the Titans. You find somebody that doesn't like Remember the Titans, you find an enemy of mine, and we can get to scuffling right now.
It is pretty incredible that they've never changed the uniforms.
Bama?
No, they used
Yeah.
to have white helmets.
Okay, they changed the helmet color, but outside of that,
Yeah,
like the
outside of that, it's
structure
been the
of the
same.
uniform, it's just always been the same. They just stay rocking what it is. I had a few overlaps with you. I also had the Michigan striped shoulder pads ones. Those were hideous to me. The Florida Gator skin, if you're making a top 5 worst uniforms list of all time, that has to be on that list. The Wyoming jerseys, these ones were, I can't remember exactly what the throwback was or anything like that, but these Wyoming jerseys were, it was a horrible attempt at a throwback uniform. It was just, you should have stuck with the regulars. This was a poor attempt on your part.
Every time I think of Wyoming football, I remember studying Gardner Webb tape my redshirt sophomore year of college. And the week before we played Gardner Webb, they played Josh Allen, Wyoming. And I ain't never seen footballs come out of dudes' hands like that. My God. My God. And this was before the NFL draft even had found him.
Yeah.
And I specifically remember their left guard squatting like a frog in his stance. Go ahead. I'm talking about ass to ankles squatting like a frog in the stance. It was crazy.
Wisconsin's khaki pants. Those were the ones that I was talking about.
Ooh.
They did these khaki pant
I
uniforms.
saw this one today.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. Didn't hate it. If you're going to go, let's go nostalgic, 1940s brought back, didn't hate it.
But you look like you're doing an ad for Jake from State Farm. It was horrible.
That's
not
a good call. That's
You don't
a good
wear
call.
khaki pants.
What are you wearing right now, Jake from State Farm?
That
Khakis.
commercial's like 15 years old now.
I mean, you just buried the punchline on it, but thank you for that.
We've all heard it.
Wyoming jerseys in general, not vibing with the colorway whatsoever. You got brown and this heightened yellow. Not a fan of it at all. And then Colorado wore these hideous 1930s throwback uniforms. It was like
with the horn thing?
I think they had the
They had
horn
like a
on the
little
helmets,
half
and it
horn.
was like this mustard yellow
Yeah,
all on
yeah,
top.
yeah.
Just too many colors clashing that just don't go together.
I have pretty much the same ones as y'all, except the one that I have that no one else had, and I think these are the worst of them all. Florida A&M wore some all orange with orange chrome helmets. Let me pull it up here. I don't know if they can see that.
Florida A&M, I like those.
You like these?
I like those. Those are tough.
You like these?
Yeah, I like those. Those are tough. And on the television, it looks a little brighter than it actually does on the phone.
That's awful.
On the
That's
laptop.
You can have them, man. I'm good. Those are pretty gross. But other than that, yeah, mine are pretty much the same. The Georgia ones are rough. The Florida Gator skins are always bad. The Michigan all maize wasn't a great look, but those Florida A&M ones are just oof.
All right, boys, we got about 10 minutes before our special guest arrives. Let's get to Unless It Doesn't Happen. Who wants to start?
Ooh, I think I got some good ones for you.
Bring it on,
Go
Joe.
ahead.
All right, first one. Yeah, I have to preface this one with a lot of things because I think that I might get a little unnecessary hatred for this one, and maybe I'm throwing some unnecessary hatred on this one, but I just got to do it. Something in my heart is pulling on me right here, so I got to deliver the take, and I hate to do it. I'm not un-American by any point.
No.
Okay? I'm not.
No.
Listen.
No.
I love the troops. I love America. I'm proud to be an American, but a 16-point underdog, man. I mean, it's just hard for me to get away from this one. I just got a feeling that these Pirates, they're going to find some treasure this weekend.
No.
They're taking down Army in the upset. All right, got to do it. East Carolina over Army.
You heard it here first. Man, what a bad time to leave the show. You just delivered a take and killed the serviceman.
I think. Whoa.
You took out their playoff hopes. My bad.
Yes.
My bad.
Sorry.
I got to be careful.
Well, I didn't take out both of them. All right, we still got
I
a
don't know.
chance with the Navy.
No.
Sounds like you took them both
Army
out.
is the only one.
Well-
I can't believe you did that, Jay. I thought, I had small hopes, and maybe he's talking about Navy. Can't believe it, dude.
Here's the deal. The servicemen may be after Jay will, but I'm going to tell you what. Louisville don't need no help this weekend. Louisville does not need help from the ACC, all right?
Well,
and they're not
gonna
going to
get
put
it,
it.
'cause-
They're not going to put it in the ACC's hands either.
Good.
Jeff Brom and them boys. Jeff Brom and the Cardinals got a little something to prove. I'm telling you right now. Best and most underrated 4-2 team in college football. Miami haters, stand up. Cards on top. Miami goes down. Give me the Cardinals. You heard it here first. Haters, unite.
I hate
Just
this.
end the show.
Unless it doesn't happen.
That's it.
Honestly, we could
just
go
wrap
off
it
there
up
right now. I'd be satisfied with it.
Double down on the text from the Miami fans last night. Just eating it up. They love it, man.
Good. I talked about this a little bit earlier in the week of how LSU fans are still really high on this Ole Miss win. It's still going viral. They're still posting clips about it. They were all very excited about it. I don't think they're ready for this trip to Fayetteville. I'm going to go ahead and say LSU is not ready to play Taylor Green and the Arkansas Razorbacks, and they catch the Tigers slipping. LSU loses after a big win against Ole Miss, and their playoff hopes go down the drain.
I'll double it down. 300 yards passing, 50-plus yards rushing from Taylor Green.
I like it.
You heard it here first. Unless it doesn't happen.
No, I've been seeing these rumblings on Twitter. I've been seeing a lot of attention put on this one, and I feel it's a bit unnecessary. We got a guy playing quarterback this weekend who's just trying to get back some love, who's just trying to get back into the fold, get his career back up, get back into the spotlight, and he's got an opportunity to do it on a good football team this weekend, but they got him as an underdog to Cincinnati this weekend, and I'm not here for it. Jeff Sims' legacy game. Arizona State continues to roll. You heard it here first, unless it doesn't happen.
Hey, look, he kind of goes against the short man syndrome. I mean, he is 6'4" and jocked. Just hasn't quite put together his football career. Maybe this is the one. Here's the good news. Kenny Dillingham, they're going to be running the option this weekend.
Well, I think what we learned at his last stop, it may not matter if all you have to do is hand it off.
Shh. Don't tell nobody.
But yeah, you don't listen to that. Jeff Sims' legacy game.
You're cooking tonight. I love it. Mike Loxley and the Maryland Terps, man.
What about him?
Couple of 3-3 Big Ten teams facing off this weekend in Maryland. Lincoln Riley believers, you're getting your final nail in your coffin this weekend. Billy Edwards Jr., the starting quarterback for Maryland boys, top 10 in passing in the Power 4 right now. Top 10 in passing attempts in the Power 4 right now. They're slinging the pill. I just watched USC get absolutely throttled by the man Drew Aller in the second half via the throwing game. Give me the Maryland Terps this weekend. Upset alert. You heard it here first.
Dang, that's crazy.
3-4, Lincoln Riley.
What happened?
Come on
He was
now.
doing so good.
Come on now.
This is a team that's come out of the ashes. Well, maybe not a team necessarily, but one unit of this team. And we're not talking about it enough. The Iowa Hawkeyes offense is back, baby. They dropped 40 points last week, and you know what? They're doing it again this week against Michigan State. You heard it here first, unless it doesn't happen.
Washington's starting defensive bus must have had a breakdown. I don't know what happened.
It may not be on trend with what's being posted on our No Context channel, but Iowa offense being back, that's worth a No Context clip right there.
Yeah.
That's a crazy statement to be said in 2024.
Are back, baby. I don't know what they're back from. I don't know how long they
Boy,
were
Brian
gone.
Ferentz ain't never
I
getting
can't
another
tell you
job.
the last time that their offense was really good, but whenever it was, it's back to stay. Give me the Hawkeyes scoring 40.
I don't believe an ounce of what I'm about to say. Auburn is a dream crusher the rest of the year. They have to be. That's all they got left. That's all they got left. They are out here ready to crush some dreams. Missouri on the schedule, A&M on the schedule, Bama on the schedule with nothing left to play, not even really bowl hopes for this Auburn football team. Peyton Thorne, legacy game, and here's what's going to happen. Peyton Thorne, legacy game, wins this football game on the road against Missouri. In his post-game press conference, let everybody know, I called the entire second half. I called every single play. That coach we got ain't worth a damn. I'm the guy. You heard it here first, unless it doesn't happen, which it won't.
We got a top 25 matchup on our hands this weekend. It seems like it might be a good game. A typical Big Ten football game. Two heavyweights, sure, I guess. Both ranked. One of them's favored. I don't think they should be, and that's why I'm giving this take right now. Illinois is not playing any games this weekend.
None.
And the Wolverines are favored in this matchup.
Why?
I don't know. You're telling me that Luke Altmaier in Illinois is going to walk onto their own turf and be handed a loss to the offenseless Michigan Wolverines? I'm not buying it. Give me the Illinois fighting Illini rolling, absolutely obliterating Michigan this weekend.
That would be the Illini.
Illinois.
Go ahead.
All right, this is my last one, and this one's kind of out there. It's not necessarily a game prediction or a score prediction or who's going to beat who, but we've got a really big matchup this regular season, maybe one of the biggest ones we've seen all season. Number 5, Georgia goes into number 1, Texas. There's a quarterback battle taking place. We all know that. Quinn Ewers versus Carson Beck.
Lord.
Georgia's had kind of a history of the backup quarterback comes in, maybe in the second half, saves a game. I don't know if that happens here, but combine that with the fact that Quinn Ewers has kind of been banged up throughout the season. I'm going to go ahead and say this. Quinn Ewers does not finish the game as Texas's quarterback, and Arch Manning will be the quarterback at the final whistle.
Funny enough that you say this, Sarkisian was asked during his press conference today, or maybe the other day, hey, Coach, what does it look like, and what does the quarterback have to play like for you to pull him? And Sarkisian looked at that reporter and said, that's a stupid question. I'm not answering it.
That is a dumb question.
Yeah. They're basically trying to get the Arch quote.
Yeah.
You know, our quarterback comes out and breaks his leg. Next question. But yeah, I could, if it's close, they might have to. Because Quinn didn't play good for 4 quarters last week.
Didn't play great for 4 quarters. You could find yourself down against Georgia. And oh, by the way, he's kind of injury prone. And I'm not saying I wish that upon him.
Oh, man, that tweet's going to hit so hard when I tweet out Arch Manning chants coming from the Texas student section.
Ooh. Where's Arch?
We want Arch. We want Arch.
We should get a plant to go do that, dude.
Maybe.
Let's bring Jay Will along with us. Set him up in the student section. Have Jay Will start saying,
I don't know, dude. That ticket's got to be $900 at this point.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll do the old.
I don't know if that's worth the investment.
We'll do the old trench coat method.
You know, speaking of
a 10-foot man going into the game.
Speaking of chants, this is something I do wish American sports were better at. I don't watch a lot of Euro soccer, but when the FIFA World Cup comes around and they're out there doing the stadium-wide chants, it's like 90 seconds worth of a song, and it's about one of their players or about their team. That shit's lit.
They do not mess around.
They do not.
Soccer.
And all Americans got is defense. Defense. Lame. We got to get better. We got to get better about this.
My counterpoint to that would be that the Americans tailgate viciously before a game. And that,
Viciously?
and that their mental cognitive might be only able to say defense by the time it gets there.
I mean, if you think European soccer fans aren't out just,
I'm not saying they're not
belligerently hammered,
I'm
you
trying
got
to give
another
my
thing
country
coming.
the benefit of the doubt, unlike someone over here.
Isn't that crazy?
Weird. Can't believe you did
16 and a half point dog. He's picking to beat the serviceman. That's crazy work.
Sorry.
Absolute insanity.
that. I bet he would have said, never mind. Never
All
mind.
right, folks. We do not do a lot of guests around here. And our next guest is no stranger to college football fans. In fact, I believe he's the first and only non-head coach in college football to have his own commercial, his own national commercial. For those of that have watched this network grow over the years, one thing you've probably noticed is we don't do a lot of guests at all. If we do, I'm either a tremendous fan of that person's work and the feeling is mutual between that person and I, or they're a very close friend. I'd like to think after spending about 2.5 hours breaking bread with this man coming up next, I not only respect the hell out of his work, but I'd like to call him a close friend as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Scott Cochran.
Yeah.
How we doing, Coach?
What's happening, baby? Just happy to be on. Happy to be on with y'all.
I want. Can I get one early? Can I get a? Oh yeah. Can I get one?
Oh yeah.
There it is. There it is right there. All right, Coach Cochran is with us today on behalf of the American Addiction Recovery Association. Coach, I'm obviously going to get you to talk football here in just a minute. But as a man in recovery myself, your story and your current fight is one that I'd like to point some attention to. So tell the folks at home what you've got going on right now with Eliminate the Whisper, man.
Yeah, started a nonprofit called American Addiction Recovery Association. And man, it's been special. Really, the purpose is to save lives and to eliminate the stigma. And our tagline and our website is eliminatethewhisper.com. And keeping things as simple as possible. What I'm finding is more now than ever. I've experienced it myself. Was this shame and guilt cycle that you can just you don't want to tell anybody because you're ashamed of it. And then it gets so bad, you think that you're a bad person. So you never reach out for help. And so I wanted to do something bigger than football. But I'm going to use my football stuff. You know, I've had a lot of success in the SEC. So I wanted to use that platform to really try to help people. And some of the cool things we got going, like we're trying to put Narcan boxes across the country. I've met with people in DC. Every state is interested. Now we got to push it forward. In Georgia, in the state of Georgia, in the capital, there is a Narcan box as soon as you walk in the door because Governor Kemp was all for it. He wanted to get it out there, let people know this saves lives. And so what that is it's an overdose reversal kit. And then my big project that I'm most excited about is the Purple Project, where we are going to get teams. Nike has promised me 10 to 15 teams are going to wear something purple in the month of September, because September is recovery month and the color of recovery is purple. So we're basically taking Susan G. Komen, what she did for breast cancer, and we're going to do that with addiction. And we're going to get this whisper out of here. And we're going to start helping people find recovery, help people understand that it's a disease, that there's nothing to be ashamed about. And if you seek help, we can find it for you. So that's really that's my new passion, my new drive.
Coach, the one thing I want to ask you about this, and you mentioned the shame that comes with addiction sometimes. Like for me, I didn't even talk about the struggles that I had until I almost conquered them. And then at that point, I almost felt comfortable coming out and speaking about that. When you go to talk to people who may or may not be struggling with addiction, or if you're speaking to someone right now listening to us today that's still in the fights of addiction, how do you go about speaking to that person to break that shame cycle, if you will?
Number one is you're not alone. Man, there are 29 million Americans in active recovery. They are in recovery, 29, and that's all that we know of, right? But there's also 46 million in active addiction. So if I'm speaking to the 46 million that are in active addiction that we know of, the number one thing is you're not alone. There is help everywhere. Go walk into an AA meeting, an NA meeting, whatever meeting you can find. Reach out to me. I've opened up my social media to anybody that messages me and they're struggling. I was on the phone with 5 people today that I've never met. And all they sent on, one was on TikTok and 3 were on Instagram, one was on Twitter, and they just said, I'm struggling, I need help. And I just sent them my number and I said, just call me. And I've been on the phone all day. I think I got 2 of them in treatment. They're going to go tomorrow morning to treatment. But that's what it's about, is just knowing that you can do this. That recovery is real. Like, that's the biggest thing I can tell you, is that you never have to deal with being a slave to alcohol or any substance ever again.
Absolutely. And again, the website is Eliminate the Whisper. All right, Coach, you spent several years with Sarkisian. You spent nearly a decade, I would assume, with Coach Smart over the full tenure and time lapse. I think they're 2 of the more brilliant minds in college football and in the sport entirely, one of which offensively, one of which defensively. I got 2 questions. One, the first one, let's attack. How are these guys similar? How are Sarkisian and Smart, how are they similar as football coaches?
They're very detailed. And, I think the one thing that is different with Sark is he's got a little bit of the Pete Carroll side and the Saban side. Because I think he probably spent more time with Pete than he did with Saban, or it's even something like that. So he's got the light, more of a coach's, like a player's coach mentality, but both of their details are what separates them from everybody else. Like when you talk about, the most important phases of the game, right? The end of the second quarter, beginning of the third, and then obviously the fourth, like that clock management and that time management is crucial to them. Those 4 minutes from the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, those 4 minutes, and then the last 4 minutes at the end of the game, they know how to manage the clock because they're detail oriented, and you see it in their players. You see it the way their players play. They play with a lot of discipline. And so they're very similar in their preparation for games.
I've always found that most great coaches share a commonality in the term of obsession. Like the reason they're so detailed is because they are so obsessed in the craft that they have. And I could see it in both of them. Now, how are they different, Scott?
I think it's so easy to see the differences because of offense and defense, right? I feel like Sark is a lot looser with his players. I feel like Sark, you have a kind of an open door policy as a player, whereas Kirby is so wrapped up in the details and so wrapped up on recruiting and getting to the next thing that it's business, if that makes sense. Not saying Sark isn't business, but with Kirby, it's more of an NFL model. And in Sark, it's more of a kind of open door, kind of keep it loose, play the next play. And some people would see it as casual, which is not at all. But that's how you would term the two. One would be super business oriented, and the other one would be more of player coach type guy.
As you're talking, Coach, I'm thinking this might be an offense-defense separation in terms of ideology and mindset. Like all the hard-nosed, hard-ass coaches that I think of historically, whether it be Saban, Belichick, Kirby, whoever it is, most of those guys are defensive-oriented, whereas you think all the offensive guys like Pete Carroll or like Steve Sarkisian or even like Kyle Shanahan, most of those guys are like you're talking about, they're players coaches. I think the one guy that bucks this trend is maybe Mike Tomlin with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like he is a player-led coach and a player-oriented coach that was a defensive background guy. So, but most of these guys are, because that's what defense is. It's detail-oriented. It's hard-nosed. Got to play with effort and attitude. Correct?
Right. Yeah. I think where you find with like Saban and Kirby is the players don't love their coach until they realize the lesson. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they don't fall in love with like the process until they become the starter. They don't fall in love with all the details of like the simple things that you make such a big deal. Like Saban always talked about when he coached in the military, how they picked up their fork a certain type of way and gave it to their mouth right back to the same spot to put it down. And the question was why. He wanted to know, why do they do that? And he said, well, when I have them over a village and I need him to drop a bomb, but then I change my mind last minute, I need to know that guy understands what to do, how to do. And I think Kirby has learned that probably better than any coach that's learned under Coach Saban by far.
There are certainly things that he seems to have applied that are Sabanisms that he's maybe tweaked. That's the one thing I hear about, like T-Rob talked about this, right? He said there's very much so Saban ideologies around this place, but every bit of it has been altered and tweaked to Kirby's method and how he wants things. So it's like 90% the same, but 10% different. And I think that 10% different has certainly played to Kirby's favor. Coach, when you look at this football game between Georgia and Texas, is there an area of this game where you see a significant advantage on either side?
This is so hard for me, I have to tell you, because I had this same question when Georgia went to Bama. And when I did that interview, I said that Georgia has the upper hand because of the discipline, because of the mindset that Kirby has, and how DeBoer had never been in the SEC. He has no idea what he's about to walk into. And so when it comes to this one, these are the things that I think about, right? If I'm coaching on Georgia's side, like, okay, Texas is normally really hot. That's not going to be a factor this time. I wouldn't think it's going to be that bad, right? But normally Texas, you go play in Texas. I've played in A&M a bunch of times. I don't know if I've ever played in Texas. No, I don't think I have. But at A&M, it was every year we played them, it was hot. It was beautiful. I loved it. Players loved it because it was so doggone hot. So I don't think that's going to be a factor in this game. And now I've seen Georgia go into two really tough environments. One didn't have the success on the scoreboard, but they had success, a lot of success. The other one didn't have – the scoreboard said they had success but didn't play very well against Kentucky.
Yeah.
So they've gone into wars. So they're kind of war ready. And so Texas – Michigan was supposed to be a challenge. It wasn't. OU was supposed to be a challenge. It wasn't. The only other team they had was Mississippi State. They haven't really been challenged. And is that because they're that good? That's the question. And I think we're going to find out a lot about Texas this week. But I also think we're going to find out about Georgia too, because the schedules don't get easier. It's awesome the way the SEC is right now. Everybody gets to play everybody in 2 years. That's the coolest thing ever. But I think you take environment out of it, you take the heat out of it. I think, of course, Kirby's going to have Coach Smart's going to go in there. His guys are going to be hungry. The only fear that I would have is the pressure, right? You've lost one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure, and some people rise to the occasion, which there's a lot of players on Georgia's team I know can rise to the occasion. Seen them do it. But then does that pressure cause them to be really tight, right?
Yeah.
Are they going to – the first two drives, are they going to punt, right? Like that's – and is that a loss, or can they flip the field, And I'll tell you, Texas's special teams, like that guy's the staple. That's the real one of the real reasons why I got into special teams was because of Banks, who's the special teams coordinator at Texas, because he's that good. So will you be able to flip the field if you have to punt early? So man, it's gonna be a good game.
Oh,
it's God.
The juice, baby, the juice. Ain't no foos with this.
So good.
Ain't no foos. Coach, I'm glad you hit on special teams. Kirby, hold on to your seat. I'm asking a special teams question.
Oh my God.
You are a special teams guy. That was your most recent, involvement with high-end college football. My question to you is, and I know Georgia fans have this one as well, what's missing right now? What's the key to getting Anthony Evans loose on one of these punt returns, man? Because they look so close every week.
Okay, so the problem is this. How do I say this without cussing?
Hey, no, you're good, man. You're good.
I'm good.
Just let it go.
Let it rip.
So the punt that we do now is full of bitch assness. It is the softest shit I've ever seen. Let's get 2 shield guys to stand here and just block, and then everybody runs down the field free. Like, because of that, you're not getting good punts. So it's hard to get a return going. And a lot of coaches are afraid to just all out rush, because when they all out rush, they're afraid they're going to run into the punter. They're afraid a player is going to jump over the shield and get a penalty, because they just want possession of the ball.
Yeah.
Right. That's like when a coach, especially a defensive coach, gets a 3rd down and gets off the field, he just wants the ball. Right. Let the offense go to work and let the defense get a rest. And it's really hard to do because of this bitch assness we do now. We got Australian punters. Like, I love Brett Thorson. It's my guy, but he can pocket punt probably better than anybody in the country too. But like this whole, let's get rugby guys so nobody can return a ball. Like, get out of here. Like, let's just get in a pro punt formation and punt the ball, and let's get some returns. So I think that's the problem we're having.
And this is across the sport, man. Everybody is reduced their hang time. They've stopped kicking it as deep, because what you're talking about is they don't want to allow an explosive, and defensively they're afraid that they're going to create a negative and extend the possession by going after the ball.
Right. And if you remember Jeremy Pruitt, he's the one that when he had a punter back there, he had I don't even think he was Australian. I think he was Irish. And this guy would just punt it all over the map. And he was literally trying to hit players as they're running down the field so that you couldn't return it. And it was like, what is the method to the madness? And then they beat South Carolina because of a muffed punt. So like, there's different ways to do it. I just think that they're trying to take the return part out of the game. And most of the time is you get a really good return when you actually rush, because everybody's got to hold up. So trying to figure that out. And, you got Arian Smith as a gunner. Lord have mercy.
Yeah, good luck returning at all. I love that.
I might be triple vicing him if I'm Texas.
Coach, looking at this Alabama-Tennessee football game coming up, what do you think's been the issue leading to some inconsistent football from Alabama?
Man, I think it's you completely. Well, first of all, let's talk about this real quick. I'm 22-0 against Tennessee. I just want to throw that out there before I go on any further. I mean, Mississippi State has beat me once. Ole Miss has beaten me twice. But Tennessee, no, sir.
You got a vacation home off of Tennessee.
Yes, sir. I got a whole beach in Knoxville. But I would say that it is a huge change. And I think in order to replace Coach Saban, you either have to get a mini Coach Saban or go the route they went. And this guy is very West Coast, man. He is very loose, but he listens to his players. So it is a player-led deal. And obviously they're running into issues of have to play every week, The SEC, Kentucky can get you. Obviously Vanderbilt can get you, which I never thought that they could get anybody, but they went ahead and got them. So I think it's the head coach's job to keep the guys on edge, right? Yeah. Like, fear doesn't work. You got to make it personal. Like, if you try to say, "Oh man, if you're not careful, such and such is going to beat you," players don't listen to that. But if you make it personal, like, "Hey, the guy you're going one-on-one against, this dude's a stud. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. You show out against him, then you're going to be in those conversations." That's where these kids get motivated now. And then they're going to watch extra film. They're going to have details when they watch the film. They're going to go do the extra. But if they think for 1 second the psyche doesn't come into play, when you're casual, everything's loose, everything's la-di-da, then it kind of, when things go south, all of a sudden those kids are questioning the head coach, right? All of a sudden they're like, wait, we used to get our ass kicked at practice. We used to bust our tails in the off season. We used to do all these things, and now it's pretty easy. And we practice in the morning. Like, I'm off for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different mentality, and it can work. But I think that's where they're struggling. I think that's where their biggest issue is.
And I think, and I don't know if this has even been talked about. I don't listen to a ton of Alabama content, to be honest with you, but I don't know if this idea of, hey, you should have expected some growing pains because of how vastly different these guys are. And that's okay. Like, it's okay that they are vastly different, because I've said on this network, Scott, that if they had just hired a mini Saban clone, if they had just hired a guy that came in and tried to do it Saban's way, there's a portion of that locker room, and tell me if I'm wrong, but there's a portion of that locker room that might have looked at them as like, you're just trying to do it the way he did it, and you're not doing it as good. So you might have lost a small portion of that locker room anyways.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. The only way it would have worked is if you had someone, there's no names that would come to mind. I mean, obviously Kirby got a big raise, so he obviously had a call, but I agree that it needed to be flipped, but now I think they're in that locker room questioning, are we like, is this who we want to be now? Like, it's cool. Like, we all got our podcasts, we all got our stuff on the side, but is this who Alabama is?
Yeah.
And I also think, they came out strong for the first 4 games, and everybody was drinking the Kool-Aid, and then they lose to Vandy, and all of a sudden that rat poison got their ass.
Yeah, you would have almost rather it have been South Carolina at home. I think they would have swallowed that one a little bit better than Vandy on the road. Hey, Coach, how can people, again, one more time, support Eliminate the Whisper, man?
Yeah, eliminatethewhisper.com. Come check us out. And you can get involved in a number of different ways. Obviously, donations are great. If you need help, you can go to eliminatethewhisper.com, or you can hit any of my social media. I'm at Coach on most of them. And I will help you, direct you to a rehab or the nearest AA meeting, whatever you need for that. But just come check us out at eliminatethewhisper.com, because you'll see we are making some changes, and we're eliminating stigma, and we're going to stop whispering about addiction, and we're going to start letting people know that recovery is real and there is help out there.
Love it, Coach. I appreciate you for coming on, man. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Man, appreciate you. See you.
No doubt. That was Scott Cochran, a man who has 8 national title rings.
It's a lot of rings.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to sit down and have lunch with him and just kind of talk through everything that, and just from a coaching career standpoint, do you know how good of a strength and conditioning coordinator you have to be to basically work your way into Nick Saban's number 2? Which by the end of his run out there in Tuscaloosa, that's what it was. I mean, he was the secondary face to that program.
Yeah.
And the only way he did it was just by being a crazy person. He was just out here, you need me to do that? I'll do that. Oh, I don't have time for it? Don't matter. I'll find time for it. And just figuring out ways to be as useful and as well-trained and as many facets as humanly possible.
Yeah, I think that's the longest I've heard him talk with his inside voice.
Yeah, that's what the chat was saying. A prime example of your energy and your infectiousness can take you a long way in this world.
That's what I was about to say. Is you can feel the energy just through a screen, man.
Yeah,
as soon as he starts getting riled, I was like, "Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready too."
That laugh too.
football.
That laugh is so contagious.
Yeah.
Guys, let's wrap up the national hour. Hey, hold on. First of all, hey, that man Scott Cochran, give him 3. Let's hit these final points on this football game. All these Big 4 football games. Bama at Tennessee. Here's my final point on this ball game as we close the national hour for the week. I trust Alabama's problems to be a little bit more fixable than I do Tennessee's. That's why I think Alabama wins that football game.
Yeah, I think that Alabama is going to be able to be more consistently explosive in this football game. and that they're going to have the difference maker. I mean, if there's anything that you can count on in this game, it's that Jalen Milroe is going to be some type of difference maker. Whether he is being the consistent quarterback or if he's kind of a little all over the place, at some point, Jalen Milroe in these games, he makes a play that is going to be a difference, and I think you can bank on that more than anything you can bank on from Tennessee's side.
That's fair.
My final point is that I really trust Neyland Stadium. I really trust this environment, and I don't necessarily love the idea of a Kalen DeBoer-led team going into this raucous SEC environment. I don't know if they're ready for that. The players have obviously played in these types of games. They've been there before, but I think the leadership there might not necessarily be ready. And I also think that Tennessee is going to take advantage of whatever opportunities the defense gives them, whether that's a turnover, a short field, a 3-and-out, something like that. They're going to have to be opportunistic to win this game. And honestly, I feel like they will be.
Make sure you hit that thumbs up button over there on YouTube right now. Auburn at Missouri. My one question, it's not even a point of analysis. It's the key to this football game being relatively close at all. Is Auburn still fighting? That's my one question. Is this roster still out here bucking up? Huh?
I think it's going to come down to which either of these teams are still fighting.
Fair.
Mine was, can Auburn maintain its offensive efficiency without turning the ball over? That's been their Achilles heel all year. It's lost them the Oklahoma game. It lost some other games. Didn't lose you the Georgia game, but the offensive efficiency wasn't there as much. So if you can be the offense that you were the first 5 games of the season minus the turnovers, I think they'll be okay.
I do think it is worth noting again that Auburn still moves the ball efficiently, and this is something that got Missouri in trouble against Vanderbilt, is that their defense could not get off the field. So if Auburn is protecting the football and they are sustaining drives, that's something that Missouri has kind of shown that they have issues with, and it showed up definitely against Texas A&M. But for me, if this was in Jordan-Hare, I think maybe I would go the other way. But it being at Missouri kind of needing one of these confidence get-back wins, I like the Missouri Tigers.
Good clarification there, much needed. LSU at Arkansas. I think the key in this football game ultimately comes down to just how close to 100% is Taylon Green. Does he look like what we saw him look like in that Tennessee football game before he got hurt? Because if he does, I think LSU's in deep doo-doo.
I've talked about this all week. Can LSU get up for this game? You had to get up against Ole Miss. You had the home crowd behind you. You had a really good environment, and you won that game in overtime. That was great. You need to do that again 7 days later. I don't think they can do it.
Yeah, I think LSU will be able to win this football game because I do have my concerns about what Taylon Green looks like. And if Taylon Green is not healthy in this offense, I don't really know that you have much of an offense for Arkansas. So it is maybe classified as a trap game. This would be one of those games that if LSU loses, it's like, Brian Kelly, what are you doing? Still doing the same old things that you've been doing as a head coach in college football. But I feel like that LSU got a lot of confidence last weekend. Maybe feels like they're back in the spotlight. Maybe they're back in the limelight for one of these playoff spots. Got to win this football game. Good football coaches, whatever you want to say about Brian Kelly, he is a good football coach. Good football coaches win these football games.
All right, last one, Georgia at Texas. I've said it, and I'll stand by it for now. Schemes don't beat Georgia. Special players do. The key Saturday is if Quinn Ewers is a truly special player. If he is in this football game, Texas more than likely walks out with a win. I just haven't seen him play at that rate recently.
Yeah, the key is also going to be, can Georgia play their cleanest game of the season today? With the exception of maybe the Clemson game. That was a fairly clean game from Georgia. Can you be turnover-free, mistake-free, bust-free on defense, don't miss your blocks? If you do that, there's not a team in the world in a place Georgia can't beat. So I think that if you get that version of Georgia wins. It's that simple. Texas is going to play very well. We all know the capabilities of a Sark offense. There's no denying how good they are, but I just believe that if Georgia plays a clean game, they win here.
Yeah, I think that if you have learned anything about playing Georgia based on what other opponents have done, if you can force turnovers for Carson Beck in this football game, if you're Texas, you're going to be in a good spot to win this football game. But that's the key of, can you force Carson Beck into some of these turnovers? And that starts with creating havoc in the pocket. For Georgia, it is, can you play your best football game this weekend? Are you still getting the Carson Beck that has shown up over the last couple of weeks that is just slinging the football? He's slinging it with ultimate confidence, and the wide receivers are starting to progress as well. But it boils down to, is the defense going to be in the right spots? Is the defense doing what they're supposed to? Is the secondary going to clean up what they didn't do against Mississippi State? That's what it boils down for both of these football teams.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a whole nother hour coming up right now, and it's our best one. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? Really like that. You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Thursday evening. We got a loaded local hour for you guys tonight. Recruiting news hit the timeline today on two fronts. Who should the rest of the SEC be rooting for this weekend? The unit that can't afford a bad week. Tate Ratledge storyline update. More O-line discussions. Some rotational talk coming on tonight's show. What October means for Georgia and predicting the game balls. But first and foremost, I want to start tonight's local hour with a good shout out to our friends over at Better. Look, all the great things that we're doing this season around this network, they're being made possible by our partners. Head over to Better right now using the link in the description of this video. Use promo code Brooks. You'll get a 100% deposit match on up to $250. Again, promo code Brooks. We're going to give you another live play on this Georgia and Texas football game. All right, and I'm going to take some Arian Smith overs here. 49.5, boys. That's 2 catches. Give me that right there. I'm hammering that one. All right, now let's go down to Texas. Now, Isaiah Bond questionable for this football game. I think we got a 50-50 chance he may be limited in the first place. Let's take the under on that 55.5.
I think he was upgraded to probable.
Still a limited football player. I like it. I like taking the under on a guy that might be a little banged up going into this football game. Give me that $20 perfect play. All right, 20 will get you 60 over there on Better. Again, promo code Brooks. That's the time to be right now. More than, less than, all those college football player props made available over on Better. Again, promo code Brooks, 100% deposit match up to $250. All right, boys. The unit on this football team that just cannot afford a bad football game this weekend. Caveat, defensive back, not an answer allowed here.
Do you want to go first?
No, man. Go ahead.
We talk about how the wide receivers, if they hit all their shots, if they catch all their balls, if they get separation, they win this game. I think we have done that to a disservice of reminding ourselves that the offensive line and the defensive line, the line of scrimmage, are the two most important aspects of any football game. If Georgia's offensive line cannot protect Carson Beck, it doesn't matter if your receivers are getting open. It doesn't matter if they're catching the footballs because he's not going to have time to throw them. So the offensive line is the one that cannot have a bad game. And by the way, if you want to set up any sort of running game and get Trevor Etienne working, you need your offensive line to do that. So they are the absolute number one. You cannot have a bad game.
I think it starts with defensive line, in my opinion. They played great, so to assume that they would have a bad game, but you'd never know.
At this rate,
you truly do not know. With how well Texas runs the football, how variant they are in the run game as well, and also if you're giving Quinn Ewers clean pockets all game, and he's just able to sit back there, process everything, and get his reads, and do so without anything crashing onto his face from the defensive line. I think that's going to be an issue for you. So if you're just giving it up in the run game and the passing attack is rather clean for them, you're gonna be in for a long football game.
All right, so you guys both went offense and defensive line. I kind of did this a little differently. I think there are certain units that I can kind of assume are already going to be really good, or at least to this point in the season have shown that they can be dependable going into a football game like this. You mentioned the defensive line. They're one of these units to me so far through 7 games that they've played consistently good football. Have they played consistently great football? No, but they haven't had a game on tape, in my opinion, that it's like, damn, the defensive line got rolled today, pushed off the ball, they got beat. No, it hasn't happened yet. So I consider them one of these constants on this football team right now. I consider Trevor Etienne individually to be one of these constants right now. He had some drops against Clemson, but for the most part, that guy's been taking care of his job down in, down out every single Saturday. And to be honest with you, and I know this is where I might get some pushback, I think Carson Beck has earned the right to go into these football games as a guy that we don't talk about as maybe it's a question. If you go look at this dude's career through 20 starts, we've reached that point now. 20 starts in this guy's career, okay? He only has 2 games in his career of fewer than 200 passing yards, one of which was this year against Kentucky. The other one was Georgia Tech last year. Okay, This guy has 13 games out of the 20 where he doesn't throw a single interception. Those 13 games of interceptionless football are combated by just 2 in 20 starts, 1 out of every 10 where he might throw multiple interceptions. Unfortunately for Georgia, both of those have come this season, And a lot of those I can explain away. You have a look on your face. It was this past week and Alabama. Threw 3 against Alabama, 2 this past week.
Oh, we did. Damn.
All right. Now, the 3 against Alabama, 1 before the half, atrocious. 1, Arian Smith, you busted. The other one, maybe ran to the wrong spot as a wide receiver. Okay, so some of these are explainable and excusable away. But for me, it was the linebacker room and it was the offensive line room. Those are the 2 that have shown inconsistencies and an area of your roster going into this matchup that are going to get attacked. Your eye discipline at linebacker is going to be tested more this week than ever before. All the play action that they do, all of the multiple run looks that you're going to get, all of the tight end action and screen game that they have, your linebackers are going to get picked on this week. If they're not ready to go, it's going to be a bad week. So I think they're the ones, because offensive line-wise, left tackle gets beat. Right now, it's not 100% chance that you're getting Carson on the ground. He's shown the ability to make guys miss and extend plays. So, but if your linebackers are playing bad Saturday, those are explosives and big ones.
Yeah, and those would be the frustrating explosives, because if it is just a little arrow route to a tight end and your linebackers are doing what he's supposed to, it's a 4-yard pass that could potentially go for 40 yards. And those are the ones that we've said time and time again this week. You can't have those. You can't have those type of explosives against this offense.
Yeah, not just that. We talk about, how are we going to stop Quinn Ewers? How are you going to stop this passing game? If Sark is getting 4 yards, 5 yards of rush, and your linebackers aren't tackling, they're not going to need to use Quinn Ewers because they're just going to run all over you all game. So, yeah, linebackers cannot afford a bad game here.
All right, who put it in the notes? Who is the rest of the SEC rooting for this week?
I put it in the notes because I think regardless of the outcome, I think there's reasons why other SEC programs, specifically the ones that are still in the playoff hunt, why there's reasons why you should be rooting for Georgia, maybe why you shouldn't. If Georgia wins this football game, they're 11-1. Texas is 11-1. Both we expect to win out at that point. The SEC championship is locked up at that point. 2 of those programs are going to the college football playoff, and so that's one less spot probably for you as an SEC program to be hoping for. But if Georgia loses, and you still expect them to win out, they're 10-2, maybe not in the SEC championship, but that's a 10-2 that looks really good. You lost to Texas, you lost to Alabama, both games on the road. I don't know that an Ole Miss 10-2 is matching up with that. I don't know that a Tennessee 10-2 is matching up with that.
Missouri 10-2 is certainly not.
Exactly. So you're going to match up a bunch of these 10-2 or potential 10-2 teams with a Georgia 10-2. You're not looking too good in that scenario.
Tennessee's 10-2's out. They lost to Arkansas.
Yeah. And so that was my point of this conversation of, you might want them to win because, hey, they're 11-1. We are going to give them that spot anyways, where if I'm 10-2, that's one less 10-2 team I'm battling with.
I know what I would be rooting against if I were another SEC opponent. I don't want a blowout in this football game. The last thing I want is one of these football teams to come out thinking they're a wagon and looking like a wagon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want Georgia or Texas being a 20-point victor in this game and then walking around with BDE the rest of the year. I don't want that. That's bad for the rest of the sport. I want this to provide a sense of confidence for the winner, but not a sense of Teflon.
Yeah.
And if you win this game by 20, you're Teflon moving forward, especially for Texas. You're Teflon.
What is from an analytical standpoint, I think you're right, Jay. Well, I think a lot of SEC teams probably want Georgia to win this just so you don't have a 10-2 team hunting around in the playoff come the end of the year. The pure fan, I just care about, I don't want to hear the other fan base. Who would you want to win this game?
One more time with that.
If you're just from the fan base standpoint, which fan base do you not want to see win this game? Who do you think would be more insufferable if they won?
Opposing SEC teams' fan bases, like if you're in their shoes?
Yes.
I would probably say Texas. You've dealt with Georgia fans the last 3 years.
Yeah.
You've had to hear that one.
You're accustomed to that.
You want to invite Texas fans saying we run the SEC and we haven't even played a full season in this conference?
SEC ain't shit.
Yeah.
You want to let Texas come in the first year, beat Georgia, be the number 1 team.
SEC ain't shit, really. You paid $115 million to get into this conference.
And on top of that, they'd be able to say, we beat.
Just getting ahead of that one.
They'd be able to do both of. We beat Bama last year, and now we beat Georgia. We beat your top 2 dogs. So they would certainly have the upper hand of anything that they would want to say.
That's a good point. This Tate Ratledge storyline's pretty interesting. He was updated to questionable in this football game, from out to questionable. If he plays, that would be 1 week later than Brock Bowers played last year with a similar high ankle, tightrope surgery.
Yeah, I think that's important. This is why I kind of wanted to circle back to this because it happened during our show last night.
There's precedence.
Yeah, there's precedence, and we just kind of had to brush over it last night of Tate Ratledge potentially playing. But what that truly means is this guy's ahead of schedule of what a lot of other players who've had this surgery. It took Amarius Mims, 8 weeks?
Especially for big people. For this guy to be 6'6", 320 and be pushing back right now, that shows you, he's got really – because what it boils down to is pain tolerance, swelling, and your ability to rehab, how hard you attack your rehab. But the first two, you really can't control. You're born with a high pain tolerance or you're not. It's not about toughness, okay? And your other one is how your body responds to swelling, that you can't really you can't take care of that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as far as pain tolerance goes too, I'm sure there's an extra motivating factor for Tate here of we're playing the best team in the country right now. It's my last year at this university. I would like to be on the football field there, so completely understand that. But, yeah, if he legitimately plays, even dresses out and is out there in warm-ups and he looks like a potential player that is going to be seeing action on Saturday, that's a massive step forward.
Historically, that's how this goes, all right? Normally when you're coming back from some type of lower body injury or any injury in general, normally you're out the week before you play running around with Scott Strickland and running around with Ron Corson, and you're out there running without your pads, and then you dress out and you're used for break in case of glass, right? Or break glass in case of emergency. Isn't that the terminology Kirby always uses?
Yeah.
He was available if we needed him, right?
Yeah.
I think this is Tate might be available if we need him football
Emergency
game.
backup.
Whereas next week or after the bye against Florida, you start looking at Tate's return.
And I think that's a plus too here is even if he doesn't play on Saturday,
He's
you got
in a uni potentially, and he's in the huddles during timeout, and it means something.
Oh, 100%. And two, you get the bye week, and then you get another week of preparation before you go to Florida. So the Florida timeline does, at the very least, regardless of what happens this weekend, that is looking very likely. In this
Before I go
scenario.
to the board and talk about this at a further extent, if you could have one starter back and playing in this football game, and you could only pick one, Smile or Tate, who would you pick?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know who I would take. I would take Smile because of the importance of eye discipline at linebacker. And right now, so far through 7 games, he's the only one on tape who's been relatively clean at that spot.
I think you're right with that, Smile.
I think I would take that too as well.
An offensive line hasn't been
It hasn't been, but you're certainly missing a vocal leader. But
Right.
from an execution standpoint, you've been okay.
It didn't turn into Swiss cheese when Tate Ratledge left.
No, it didn't. But he was playing some of his best football.
Oh, he was.
Before he left. My
Absence
God.
felt for sure.
That Kentucky game, that first quarter, he was driving dudes off the ball. All right, so here's what the rotation looks like right now with no Tate Ratledge, okay? I don't know why I'm doing it that way. Let's do it this way. You got 71 at left tackle. You got 53 at left guard. Right now, 74 is the starting center. To date, we'll see what happens this week as Jared Wilson gets back 100% healthy. Right now, Micah Morris is starting at right guard, and Xavier Truss is starting at right tackle. Now, you guys rotate more than every other football team in the country. Normally, the rotation starts with Monroe Freeling coming in at right tackle, okay? And then when that happens, almost simultaneously, Xavier Truss kicks to left guard or right guard, all right? When that rotation gets a little tired, sometimes 57 comes over here to left tackle and 73 comes in over here at left guard. Now, obviously, some of this has changed now with Jared Wilson coming back in, and I'm going to put him up underneath this guy, all right, and Drew Bobo, because I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. And we'll talk a little bit more after about this specific position battle when we get to the board, because, guys, I think it's a lot closer than we ever imagined it would be, myself included. All right, now, when Tate ultimately gets back, the question becomes now, who gets pushed out, right? Who gets pushed out of this rotation? I'm not telling you this is how it's going to happen. I'm telling you this is how I would do it. All right, because eventually we got to start narrowing rotations as guys get healthier now that we know who the winnable players are as the season progresses. Okay, so the moment Tate Ratledge comes back, all right, he's going back to right guard. There's no question about that. Okay, he slides right back in, and now Micah Morris is off of the field for a moment in time. Now, here's what I would do. I would take 73, and I would put Monroe Freeling at right tackle because I think so far to this season, he's shown that he's the guy. All right, he's the future, and he's the best available right now, right tackle, in my opinion. All right, now, the best swing player and the best additional juice that has been provided at guard this year has been by 73. In my opinion, I don't think it's up for debate. When 73 is the other guard, the third guard playing, he's elite. When 56 gets in there, he's winnable. There's a difference there, all right? So in my opinion, 73 would be our swing player, all right? And 56 would be standing over here, all right? And we would have to find ways to get him onto the field, all right? That would be my rotation.
How much, when Jared Wilson comes back, is that battle up for grabs, do you think?
Man, this has gotten way more difficult than I ever thought it would get. And I was going to go back at the desk and talk about this, but we can talk about it standing up because I'm uncomfortable about the topic, so I might as well be standing up talking about it. We all expected Jared Wilson to have flashes, lots of flashes. That's what we've all been advertised as, is like this really, really fast offensive lineman, this really athletic offensive lineman. He's going to get to the second level. He's going to be making flash plays. The last 2 games, 74's flashed over and over and over again. And they're effort plays. And I told you guys before the show, it's great to be fast. It's awesome to be fast as an offensive lineman. But the most important thing is that I'm fast through the echo of the whistle, that I play with tremendous amounts of effort. Okay, Jason Kelsey's a great athlete, but Jason Kelsey runs through the echo of the whistle on every single play. Drew Bobo right now is playing like his hair is on fire. And I don't see a lot of negatives. I really don't. I don't see a lot of moments where I'm like, damn, 74's eyes are late, or, oh, he's getting blown off the ball, or, oh, this is an issue. And to be honest, I didn't see a lot of it with 55 either. There wasn't a lot of negatives with Jared Wilson, all right? But there wasn't as much, whoo, look at this. Look what's happening right now. And 2 or 3 times a game, there is that with Drew Bobo, guys, and I just didn't think we'd ever get to this point.
What if, hypothetically, 55 comes back before 69? Is there any world where you maybe slide him out to a guard position? Or
Talking about Drew?
Yeah, Drew
No.
or Jared, honestly.
I don't think Jared is big enough to move 3 techs right now.
Okay.
Okay.
And Drew, same thing?
Nor would I want somebody coming off of a foot injury to go start, hey, play guard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
like, hey, I know your foot hurts, but can you go drive that 300-pounder off the ball at the 3 tech spot? Nah, I don't know if that's something that I want to be doing, but I just think it's interesting that we've gotten to this point, because I think when most people, myself included, I'm not going to separate myself from this. I think most people, when Drew Bobo signed, they're like, oh, it's Bobo's kid.
Yeah, I mean, when Tate Ratledge, the news came out that Tate Ratledge was taking reps at backup center, I kind of floated out there like, hey, what if Ratledge gets hurt and then Jared Wilson has to come out? And we all said, Drew Bobo's your break in case of emergency center. He might not be better than that then. He might be just a flat-out starting center for you, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
And I think this is something that really gets taken for granted at the University of Georgia. We talk about a lot of football programs on this channel, a lot of them. A lot of them, if you say your right guard is hurt and your center's hurt, it's scrapped. Like, our offensive line is a major problem right now. We have no answers for this. You're probably starting a true freshman somewhere, or that was maybe one of your, especially when it's your right guard who's like your one certified, like, this dude's playing really good football. We just listed out 4 different answers that Georgia's rotating in an offensive line. You could do this many different matchups. We got to get this guy playing time. We got to get this guy playing time. Like, oh, we have a battle going on here maybe. That is not something that is very common.
And we went through that whole discussion with multiple injuries on the interior without talking about 5-star true freshman Daniel Calhoun even having to be an answer right now to expound upon your point.
I think it gets overlooked because that's been the case at Georgia for the last few years, last several years. I mean, you rotate offensive linemen in, and you got a lot of answers, and that's such a good thing to have. That is such a luxury to have that many answers at offensive line.
All right, chat's been giving you props. Apparently, you got that shit on tonight. So where did you get that Atlanta Hawks quarter zip or zip up?
It was donated to me, actually.
Nike Tech?
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it was just given to me for free by one of my good friends. Shout out Dan. So just was giving it to me. And
Dan Kiley.
Yeah, Dan Kiley.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. So, yeah, I assume – I don't know if you can get this one anymore. This is the old colorways. I don't know if I love the neon, but this does go hard.
Blessed Trinity getting some love tonight?
Yeah.
Yep.
Shout out to the fam.
All right, what does October mean for Georgia football?
I can tell you what it means.
What's it mean?
So I just one of the cool things is that now you can run stats for each month. How's your team performing each month? Offensive points per games, points allowed, things such of that nature. And so I wanted to go back and see, like, how has Georgia's averages over the years kind of fluctuated throughout each month? Because you kind of just assume, oh, well, early on in the season, you get your FCS opponents, you get your group of 5 teams, and then maybe you get a couple easy conference opponents, and then October.
Then you get to the meat.
Then you get to the actual like big opponents on your schedule. But for Georgia, that hasn't exactly been the case if you just look at the stats. So I took the last 3 years. This is 2022, 2023, and 2024 as well. In 2022, from August to September, you averaged 42.3 points per game. In October, you still averaged 41.3. That's against SEC opponents. You're averaging 41.3 points per game.
Eating in the midst of the meat.
Yes.
All right, now you're doing it on purpose.
In 2023, this is where it gets really crazy. August through September, you averaged 38.6 points per game. That jumped to 43.7 in October. Your offense averaged over 40 points per game in that month. This season, you averaged 32.3 points per game in August and September. In October, that has increased to 36 points per game. So, my question at that point is this Georgia team peaking? Are they showing signs of peaking? Because the stats say this is the time of year where they start to peak.
Stats say it's spooky season.
Spooky season, yeah. Fitting.
You want top 3 names that connote spooky season?
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
OLI, DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf. Huh?
Notorious candy eater.
Interesting.
Number 3, Walter Payton, a.k.a. Sweetness.
He's going for more. You're going more the candy angle.
Number 2, Calvin Johnson, a.k.a. Megatron. A pretty common Halloween.
Fitting.
And number 1, the only real name that fits this list, Boo Carter.
I
get it because Boo.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch, he ate Skittles before every game.
He did.
Beast mode.
Oh, yeah, beast mode. That sounds scary.
That's all I had.
All right, 3.
really a list to get Boo Carter out. That's all I really got.
Thank you for that.
No additions to the Halloween names?
No.
I can't really think of any at the moment.
But how about
right
them
now.
dogs peaking in spooky season?
Yeah, I'm
man?
just saying, I think that too.
In the meat, too.
And this is something that we've kind of discussed as the Georgia offense is starting to figure things out. And this is why I didn't bring up the defensive stats, because I think it does play a role that you start playing better opponents, that's going to increase. But offensive stats, the fact that those are increasing in these times of years, I think it's becoming a trend. So that's something that you can talk about it potentially happening for this football team. And 2, that's something that we have been talking about for this offense is the offense seems to be figuring out. Carson Beck is looking better. The wide receivers are looking better. Lawson Lucky continues to emerge in his role. Oscar Delp is getting more involved. Even saw Ben Urasic get more involved in the offense as well. I think you can say that this offense is trending in the right direction. Maybe Georgia overall is peaking as a whole. Because you always, and I think that this was something maybe Kirby said, or maybe it was just another coach said, but you want to be playing your best football increasingly at this point in the season. You don't want to be playing your best football week 1, week 2. You want to reach up and acclimate to that goal.
You want to slow climb. I was going to decide if I was going to work blue there. You want to slow climb, and then you want to peak.
Yeah.
That's what Dylan Fairchild said. You want to be peaking right about now. You want to be out here playing your best ball in the midst of the meat of that schedule. Let's predict some game balls, shall we, boys?
Let's do it.
Who is winning the offensive game ball this week? I'll let you guys go first.
We said all week how this is a quarterback battle. This is going to come down to, can Quinn Ewers be special? If they are, Texas will win. If Carson Beck plays well, Texas or Georgia will win. I've said multiple times that Carson Beck is not out of the Heisman race. I don't think he's out of it. It's going to be a long shot for him to win it, but these are the types of games you have to perform well to win in. I think Carson Beck is going to be up to the challenge. I have him winning the game ball here on just a great performance from him on the road.
What do you got for me, J. Will?
This one plays into both where the game is being played at and this player. I think that he's due for one of these. Dylan Bell, he's a Texas native. This is where he was from. Going back to Texas, he's got a lot of people, I'm sure, that are going to be in attendance for this football game to be watching him. So I think that's going to play a role. And I think Dylan Bell is just due for one of these breakout games, maybe a Tennessee-esque performance from him. I like the odds of Dylan Bell just having – and he's played well. He's had some big performances this year, but I think 86 could be a huge difference maker on Saturday. So I'm predicting he's going to get the game ball.
Give me Trevor Etienne for a game ball for selfish reasons. I spent way too much money renting a way too nice of a camera lens, and that man is as aesthetically pleasing as any Georgia football players I've ever shot. So if he goes off this weekend, the ROI on that photo album is going to be prime.
Cass Jones.
This is both an investment in you and him.
Yeah. Oh, as always, selfish premonitions.
Love it. Who you got defensively?
I'm going to wait because I didn't take notes and I'm ad-libbing. So go ahead, boys.
All right.
All right, sounds good. I'm going TID here. I think we all talked about how this interior defensive line, the defensive line as a whole, setting the line of scrimmage is going to be very important. TID has flashed these last few weeks. We finally get to see him as a fully healthy player, and it's been great. So I think this is another week where he can make a really big difference for Georgia's defense.
I went C.J. Allen, both because I think he's another player that feels due for one of these, but also because you need it. You need number 3 to have a really good game on Saturday. You need your linebackers, but I said earlier, I think I said it yesterday of C.J. Allen's ceiling, I think, would allow him to have a highly more impactful football game than some of these other names in the linebacker room. Would like to see it because this is what we kind of expected from C.J. Allen this year, a guy that just flashes all over the football field, super impactful football player, and he is an impactful football player, but I would like to see number 3 get in the heat of action quite a bit on Saturday.
Consistency is the key. There's been no more consistent football player than Dan Jackson this year. Dan Jackson, another standard ops football game for number 17. Real lunch pail efforts.
I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah, bring it on. Who do you have coaching? Did you do notes on that one? Or do you want us to?
What do you think?
Give me a game ball for Glenn Schumann.
Ooh.
Big week. Big week for the man. Can you outduel one of the sport's best?
This is kind of the first season where I've seen some Georgia fans kind of turn their attention and go, hey, maybe we should insult that guy this year. It's always been, the offensive staff. It's been Kirby for his choice of quarterbacks.
Maybe we should go after the guy we've been begging to never leave us the last 2 off seasons.
I mean, that's the mind of a Georgia fan. So it's kind of been interesting. I do think you're right. I think Schumann turns in one of his better performances defensively here. I think those Georgia players will be ready.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to give a duo shout-out on this one. I'm going to go T-Rob and Dante Williams. Secondary, if you have a big game from that crew, all around, safeties and DBs, you're going to win this football game if your secondary is playing really well on Saturday. And I do envision them playing better than they did a week ago, or maybe even they have over the last couple of weeks. I just can't imagine that that's going to be consistently that big of a problem for them, especially considering that they've just been busting assignments and just kind of giving it up, not even just going down with the fight at least. So I'm giving it to T-Rob and Dante Williams.
Yeah, I'm going Mike Bobo. We've talked about how all season that he's kind of been unfairly doubted. I think this is one of those games where we come out and everyone who says anything bad about him in the past who says, you know what, Mike Bobo called an incredible game today. And the people who have been steadily praising Mike Bobo for the job he's done finally get to say, I told you so.
Eating Bobo? No, that doesn't work for eating Crow. Eating Crow?
You're trying too hard.
Yeah,
now,
a little
man.
bit.
You're trying way too hard with
Yeah,
that.
sometimes you just swing and you miss.
Oh, yeah, I guess we didn't give your opportunity for Sunday's headlines today.
No, we didn't.
Then get your alliteration package.
Dang, I'm fiending.
You can still give some right now.
I might have to.
Let's see how creative you are. Do it real
Boys, there was a lot of recruiting news over the last 24
there was.
Very odd for the midst of a college football season.
Yeah, very, very odd. Georgia, let's talk about the I guess, bad news first. Georgia's track record with first commits in a class, for the last, 7.
Weird trend. It's almost a curse at
I
this
believe the
point.
last one that remained committed the entire way was David Daniel.
So 0 for 7. You know?
He was here.
He was here.
He stayed committed.
He was here.
Saw the field.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't play for anyone else.
Yet.
Not yet.
It's true.
He'll be in the portal this fall, I would imagine. But yeah, obviously Jared Curtis, the 5-star quarterback out of Tennessee, has announced today that he has backed off of his commitment to the University of Georgia, has made it known that he's going to continue to talk to those guys. This seems like it's going to happen more and more with the guys that commit early at positions of extreme value. All right. I think it's pretty obvious what may or may not be going on right now is that as things progress and as college football programs identify how much money is actually available as the classes start to turn over, right? They might have more money available to them or less money available to them. Some of these schools that have more money available to them, they might get a little aggressive with some of these quarterbacks that are committed elsewhere. And I think that's what happened here. Based off all the information that I've been receiving, like I said, it sounds like Georgia's still in communications with this guy. Bama's gotten in the mix. Oregon's going to be in the mix. But to be honest, the inklings I've heard is that South Carolina might be a major player here.
I mean,
It's interesting.
I guess they have kind of turned up the heat with the wide receiver recruiting this cycle, so they might be bringing in a solid class there.
And one thing we've known from some of these recruiting bases is that, like, it's not just South Carolina, Missouri is the same way. They go all in on one big guy.
Yeah.
And this is one of these guys that seems like he might be worth doing this. I mean, the name that constantly gets thrown around with this football player is Matthew Stafford. I don't know. I get really scared when I see quarterbacks that play this level of competition.
Yeah.
Really scared. And because he's not playing very much going on right now. But there is no doubt this is the most talented football player at the quarterback position in 2026. You can say what you want about competition. This is the guy.
Yeah.
He's 6'3", he's 230 pounds, he's mobile, and he's got a chooch. An absolute 1%er here.
Yeah, and it's so far out from the 2026 signing day that it's kind of like this is a really disappointing loss. This is when you look at it and go, damn, that stinks. You'd have to imagine that this wasn't their only shot at getting someone in the 2026 class at the quarterback position. So it's one of those things where it stinks. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes, but you kind of move forward from here if you're a Georgia fan.
Yeah, I mean, still plenty of time in that recruiting class. I mean, there's still a good chunk of time in the 2025 class
there's
as well.
still time in that recruitment as well. Like,
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
probably not fully out of the window yet.
Yeah, so, I mean, it sucks. But, I mean, it kind of feels – and I see people say this too of, I mean, when a guy 2 classes away commits, it's like, all right, that's cool, but we got to hold on and expect you to stay committed to us for like the next 2 years.
This is a flipping position nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 of the top 20 ranked quarterbacks in the country in 2026 right now are uncommitted.
Dang, really?
Yeah, this is a position that's getting
mean-
done and done early right now. This is what I guess classes or teams are starting their classes with this because they're trying to figure out how much the quarterback's going to cost and then breaking down the rest as it moves forward. Because, again, it's all roster acquisition strategies. This is all this is. It is. It's cap allotment for all of these programs
I
nowadays.
mean, Deuce Knight in this class flipped. Keelan Russell flipped in this class as well. There's some in this, an example of this class too. I'm sure there's more that I'm not remembering right now, but it happens.
Do you think once regulations come in and revenue splits come in, do you think you stop seeing this? Because you'd have to imagine that a lot of these flips are probably money-based, correct?
Yeah, but, I mean, cash still get to them.
Right.
Cash
That was
still get to anybody.
that was why I
nowadays.
asked the question, just to
Yeah,
see.
I mean,
So you're never going to stop seeing flips, you don't think?
yeah, honestly, I thought this stuff was going to make flipping harder because you're verbally agreeing to contract terms, but all it is a verbal agreement. So it doesn't mean a hill of beans from both sides, I guess. But I always thought like, oh, 5-star quarterback A is committed to school A for $1.5 million, and that's what they've agreed upon. So now the only possible way to flip them is to go in there and say, we'll give you 1.7,
Yeah.
and we love you too. And I thought that was going to be harder than back in the day where it's a relationship game plus a cash deposit game. We're going back to that eventually, as I've always said on this network. But
Plus, I mean, it makes sense why it happens at the quarterback position because you want to talk about getting an impactful football player and you feeling like a position is worth investing in. Quarterback is one of those. South Carolina definitely in need of one of these quarterbacks that could potentially not even bring in momentum to this program, but bring a spark to an offense that needs it.
It's not even you need him on the field necessarily. This is such a monumental win as far as recruiting goes. Like, I don't know how much Williams Winair has played for Missouri this season.
yeah,
But you still feel the momentum of that commitment for
from a talking standpoint.
right,
yeah.
from Eli and from like, hey, Missouri's on the up and up here.
Now, that would have looked a whole hell of a lot better if they would have followed up Winery with Ryan Wingo in 2023.
Correct.
Or 2024 would have looked a hell of a lot better.
Correct. But still, it's one of those things where, like, these are, even if they don't necessarily have an effect on the field when you would need them to, the fact that you can go out and get these guys is huge for programs like Missouri, like South Carolina, that aren't necessarily, it's the expectation that you land guys like this consistently.
I know the question's ultimately going to come, and I've got to do my research on it because it just happened today. I don't know where they go now in 2026. It's obviously way early, and they still have an opportunity to go out and get some work, but I have no clue where they're going to go at this position. Luckily, it is a position nowadays that seems like it's got more quality football players at it than ever before.
Yeah.
It also is really, really good that you have a true freshman right now in Ryan Puglisi that you believe in, and you have a 2025 commit on the way in Ryan Montgomery, despite the fact that he had a season-ending injury. So you've got plenty of depth at the position in the room already and plenty of talent as well. So you can't necessarily afford to lose any 5-star, but this one hurts, but it's not a death blow to the class.
And this would also hurt if this was October of 2025.
Yeah.
Like, it's so far out.
Can you pay Julian Lewis to reclass down?
Ooh,
Is that possible?
that'd be interesting.
Just like, hey, once you fail that next course you got coming up, we'll make you our guy in 26.
Go win another state title.
Just a thought. You know, that's all it would take. Oh, man, he couldn't get all of his credits in trying to graduate 18 months early because that's what he's doing right now.
That's insane.
He's trying to graduate 18 months early, and he's going to do it
Yep.
unless you convince him not to. Just a thought.
Definitely a thought.
I mean, shit, the guy's considering Indiana right about now.
Hey,
Dude,
I would too.
The SIG
would
man
too.
coming for
You don't think the SIG's burning ashtrays down in Florida next year?
Nah.
No, dude.
Nah.
I love
That's
the
a Hoosier for
SIG,
life.
man. That's a Hoosier for life.
For life.
For life. That's a bold statement.
Hey, Lance Leipold did it for the Kansas Jayhawks. Why can't my boy Sig do it?
That's right. Matt Campbell.
I think Leipold tremendously regrets that decision, by the way.
Nah, dude. He's a Jayhawk. Rock chalk.
But the good news is for Georgia is that maybe good news on the horizon.
Yep.
So you might get some good news to overshadow the bad news.
The number one defensive tackle in the country, Elijah Griffin, is set to come off the board tomorrow. And you always love when a football player who was very, very well spoken about the fact that he was going to go all the way down to early National Signing Day with this. All of a sudden, after an official visit to Georgia, he's like, you know what? I'm committing next Friday. That's good vibes.
It's a pretty good sign.
That's tremendous vibes. I think this is one's between Georgia, USC, and Miami. I think all indications and all signs point to this young man ending up in the Georgia football class. And I will tell you this. This is a football player that has been very well known in the Georgia recruiting circles for quite a while. Was the number one player in America the moment the rankings dropped for this 2025 recruiting class as a true freshman. He's from Savannah Christian, and when you come from the Savannah area and you're this talented, Nolan Smith knows who you are. Nolan Smith knows who you are very, very early on. Nolan Smith put the staff on this guy at, I think, 13 or 14 years old. Georgia was indeed his first official offer, and they look to be the ones that are in prime position to land this individual tomorrow. Let's go to the board and find out what Elijah Griffin brings to anybody's table, particularly Georgia's. Here we go. So, yeah, this is the type of football player that the moment Kirby Smart starts to miss frequently on these types of guys, that's the moment I'm going to raise some flags. Be like, hey, bro, you ain't supposed to be doing that. All right, in-state defensive lineman like this guy, this dude better be a dog. Don't care what it costs, don't care what it takes, got to be a dog. So we're going to see him right here at the nose tackle position, I would imagine. Good hand fight, redirect. We're going to pick that ball off, take it back to the crib. All right, that's as fundamentally sound as a first clip can get. I do want to draw more attention to those fast hands right off the snap. Watch him overhand swipe both hands this center and disengage immediately off the snap. Check this out. Wham. Immediately get that rip up underneath, get back on your feet, find the football, and take it back to the crib.
The craziest thing about that play is he knew it was a screen before he stumbled.
Yeah.
Because as soon as he gets out of the stumble, he's got his hands up.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say this, and I want you to confirm. There's some right there, so I'm going to shut up. The twitch on this athlete in person is not like, wow. Now, here's the reason. He's 6'4", like 310. Okay, so this isn't Devontae Wyatt, who's 6'2.5", 295, and plays with elite pad level and twitch. All right, this is more of like, and I would always say this about Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter's not some super twitchy, like really, really highly explosive athlete. He doesn't make flash plays like that. The flash plays that Jalen makes, even in the NFL nowadays, are watch this guard look like I'm the strongest human being in the planet right now. He's going to walk right through that guy. He's going to unroll his hips, and you're going to see a lot of this from offensive linemen playing Jalen Carter. All right, you're going to see a lot of that from offensive linemen playing Elijah Griffin. Do you remember the first clip that Jalen Carter went viral for?
Yeah, it was the board drills.
Board drill against Trey Hill as a true freshman, and he stonewalled the sumbitch. This is what this guy's going to do in college. His anchor against the run is so damn good. So damn good. He's going to show that in college immediately. My God. That's against Long County right there.
For sure.
For sure. A 3-tech for sure. And even if he grows, I don't know how much weight gains left on this frame, by the way.
Yeah,
This is
I don't think you want looking at him.
no, man. This is a already fully grown 300-pound man that's going to come to college football and get after it. And as good as the tape looks right here, I've been told from sources this is the best in-camp eval they've had since Jalen Carter. Okay? That's why the comps, dude, I got the comps on this guy to Jalen when he was 14. Like when Jalen was still on the roster at Georgia, they were like, this is the next one, and we better land him. We have to have him. And that's why I never wavered on the idea that he was going to end up at Georgia or will end up at Georgia tomorrow. That's my prediction, and I'm going to stand on it. Fundamentally, oh my God, look at him work back over top. He's identifying play design here as well in this snap. Watch him come off the ball vertically upfield like every defensive lineman does, all right? Vertically upfield. Now watch the difference from here. He's going to identify, oh, this guy's trying to reach me. He's going to start working laterally immediately. All right, that play recognition and that instincts, those are the things we're looking for on tape beyond just height, weight, speed. We know this guy's physically gifted. That's why he's a 5-star. But when you see instincts on tape like that, those are the things that increase our immediate floor as a football player too, not just our ceilings, right?
Nice little swim move.
Yeah, man, he's well-trained, really well-trained. By the way, I've already talked about him plenty. The dude standing across from this guy right here,
is that the young kid?
yeah, that's LaDainian Guyton, dude. And look, Georgia don't have to leave the state this year to sign the best defensive tackle class, right? You sign Elijah Griffin, you sign Justice Terry, and you call it a day, and you're extremely happy. And if you add anybody else, that's great. All right, but you're still going to have the best defensive tackle class in the country. In 2027, if they get this LaDainian Guyton kid and the David Jacobs kid from Blessed Trinity, they ain't got to leave the state. They ain't got to go nowhere else. Uzo can camp out right here in Georgia and just call it a day. So this is the advantage of being a University of Georgia head football coach. Your proximity to talent is insane. That's the state championship game against Bo Walker right there from Cedar Grove, another Georgia commit. Really favors the swim, doesn't he?
He does.
Really favors the swim, something that you don't see a lot of in college football. Once you get to that next level, man, we can't really be,
especially in the interior.
we can't really be doing this. All right, we do this, we're going to take it off the chest really quickly. A great football player who, like we all believe, or like we all agree, I think is going to end up a Georgia commitment tomorrow based off all signs, indications, sourcing, all that good stuff. And a tremendous presumed get for the Bulldogs. What do you guys think?
I like it. I mean, that's one of the exciting things is that Georgia's, as of late, and especially in the national championship run, has always kind of had that anchor on the inside defensive line where it's this one game record, whether it was Jordan Davis or Jalen Carter. Having that and adding that seems like you'll have that as you move forward with this signing class. That's going to be big for these guys.
Yeah, I think the promising thing about Georgia's defense right now is you loaded up on linebackers last class. You're loading up on defensive linemen this class. You got a 5-star in Ellis Robinson right now who's still a freshman. Feels like you're getting – and you got KJ Bolden who's a true freshman as well.
And you got Nate Frazier.
Yeah, and you got Nate Frazier. Like, feels like you're loading back up on both sides of the football.
And there's tremendous belief in Ryan Puglisi's talents as a quarterback. Obviously, Gunner's an upperclassman already. He'll be back next year. But, yeah, some tremendous talent that's already – kind of shown its fruitfulness even in that freshman class now, and an elite defensive line class shaping up for Georgia already. As important as it is to get Elijah Griffin, it's just as important, in my opinion, to get Justice Terry. I don't think Georgia, unless Jordan Hall gets healthy and turns into what we all believe he can be, Georgia's missing that twitch, that elite quickness at that defensive line and that defensive tackle position. There's a lot of 6'4.5", 310-pound guys that can really hold the point of the attack against the run, right? There's a lot of Nas Stackhouse. There's a lot of Kristen Miller. There's a lot of Jordan Thomas. There's a lot of Ja Jarrett. There's a lot of these really big humans. There's not a lot of twitch and life in that room. Justice Terry would bring that immediately. They need that one just as bad. And it sounds like he's getting it's getting competitive, right? It's getting competitive for other SEC programs as well there with Justice. But I still feel good about Georgia's chances there as well.
Love that.
We got 5 minutes, boys.
Let's talk about this trip, man.
Dude, what are you most looking forward to tomorrow?
I'm excited to be in tomorrow.
Or just in general, what are you most excited for?
I'm just excited to be at this game.
Yeah.
This is one of those games where you tell people you're going, everyone gets upset, like, "Oh, I wish I was going." It's a stadium. It's a stadium I don't think any of us have ever been to. I don't know. You've never been in Texas, have you?
Yeah, I got family in Texas.
Well, then never mind. It's a stadium I've never been to, so I'm excited.
I've never been either.
Oh, a stadium. I thought you said a state.
No.
Like, yeah, no, I've never been.
I've been to Texas.
I've never been to DKR.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see, how this other program that's big nationally kind of gets
I'm excited
down.
to see the fallopian tubes in the
yeah, the uterus.
Yeah. Uterus.
Oh, there you go. Hey. It
Not
took
bad.
All night, finally got a hit.
Building up to a climax.
There's a base hit right there. That's a good one.
Yeah, boy. I'm slick, kind of looking forward to this 15-hour drive tomorrow because I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out if I can figure something out about this guy.
You won't.
Yeah, I might just put my AirPods in and sing the whole time because I know you love that.
AirPods, singing with AirPods in? I can't even hear the music.
Nope.
That's crazy.
Just me.
I'll just put mine in too.
Oh, that'd be boring.
Set the bar high.
What do you want me to do, man?
The real tough part about tomorrow's drive is we're not going to have entertainment via football until late in the drive.
Ooh, that's right.
So we're going to have to figure something out. And we're in a real car. I don't know what the audio situation is. We might have to bring an aux cord.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be great. I would imagine you need a charger. So
Okay. We'll figure something out.
Oh, yeah. You need to make sure you get all that stuff.
I'm excited for 6th Street, even though I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time down there.
Yeah, we're going to be dragging.
I'm excited to see just how much of a spectacle it's going to be.
Yeah. I want to see
F1 apparently is the biggest, shitstorm that there possibly is.
F1, isn't there M&M's coming out or something?
They're part of the F1
Right.
shindig.
But he's going to be there too, so.
Yeah, and I think one other
There's something there.
there's one
There's another
older band
artist.
that's there too. Maybe Def Leppard or AC/DC, one or the other.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Whole lot going on in
What if
Texas.
we run into M&M in 6th Street?
That'd be cool. Yo, M.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see 6th Street, but mostly excited to see this game. It's one of those games, like I said, that it's the biggest game of the season, in my opinion.
Hey, man, how about Scott Cochran tonight?
That was sick.
fantastic.
That was fun,
That
wasn't
made me
I
miss
loved it.
football.
Yeah.
Having that energy around you.
Yeah. I bet he misses it too. But one thing I noticed about him is just how passionate he is about this new project, man.
Yeah.
So y'all need to be over there. EliminateTheWhisper.com. It's why part of the main reason why we had him on, because I want you guys to support what he's got going on. And it's an important mission as you know, this epidemic of addiction right now is going on around the United States. So we appreciate you guys for being here, man. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. If you miss any portion of tonight's broadcast, it will be made readily available. However, wherever you get your podcast. Appreciate you guys. Hold on. I was told to check something. Check Dave in the comments, I guess. I don't know if I was supposed to say that out loud.
Yeah. Just
What's going on?
direct him again where he can find Scott Cochran's.
Yeah, EliminateTheWhisper.com. Again, that's EliminateTheWhisper, THE, TheWhisper.com. Go over there and support those guys. Appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Love you. We'll see you.